What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a deck centered around Zoroark and Vespiquen that Michael Pramawat used in regionals to take home a regional championship. And yes, I know international championships in North America just happened this past weekend, and I'm literally a whole tournament behind in terms of bringing you decks that were used in which tournaments. But you know what? I mean, nothing particularly amazing, or nothing that we hadn't seen before was brought in the international championship. So there wasn't anything particularly new and exciting. Now, that being said, I don't want to say... Actually, you know what? I take that back. There wasn't anything particularly new. Now, it was incredibly exciting because we saw a plethora of different decks in the top 8. We saw like Greninja Break, Zoroark Drampa, Garbodor Drampa, which took home the championship. Decidueye Vileplume, Alolan Ninetales, like Alolan Ninetales Decidueye. I mean, we just saw a bunch of different really cool decks in this current meta in the top 8 of the North American International Championships. And so my question of the day is going to be centered around that. And what deck were you guys rooting for in, well, I guess in the tournament in general, not necessarily just in the top 8, because I know that there were other decks that were used to a good amount of success as well. So what deck were you guys rooting for in the North American International Championships, and why? Had to ask me, I would say that, I mean, while it's kind of... Actually, you know what? I'm just going to go with the Zoroark Break Drampa deck. I know that that might not necessarily be the most popular opinion, but that was just a deck that I really liked seeing. I mean, it was a very cool deck. When I played it, I had a ton of fun using it. So it was just a really fun deck to use that wasn't inherently broken. It was able to use your opponent's strategies against them with like foul play, stuff like that. I loved being able to Sunsteel Strike for a single Darkness Energy, Trashalanche with foul play. I mean, all those different types of things that you're able to pull off with foul play. So I was really rooting for Zoroark Break and Drampa, although I was very happy to see the variety of decks in the top 8. I mean, that just shows that while Garbodor is still the best deck, I mean, it's kind of like a... I mean, this format is kind of reminiscent of the Night March meta, where the meta was Night March and things that beat Night March. But the things that beat Garbodor are actually a lot larger, or a lot bigger in variety. So I mean, there are a lot bigger number of decks that we can use to beat Garbodor, and also just smart playing and safe playing and slow playing can allow you to beat Garbodor as well. So Garbodor, while I still don't necessarily like that it had to be done, I do like what it has done to the meta. But yeah, I was rooting for Zoroark Drampa. Let me know if I said Zoroark Garbodor. I am very sorry. I have Garbodor on my mind, obviously, but it was Zoroark Drampa. Let me know what deck you guys are rooting for in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys are thinking about. But anyway, on to the deck. I mean, again, I know I'm a whole tournament behind, but this is a deck that I've been wanting to do for a little while. And because it really didn't show up in the top 8 at all, I decided, you know what, let's go ahead and do this. This is a fun deck, very cool to use, centered around Vespiquen and Zoroark, but mainly around Vespiquen with Be Revenge. This is just basically a modern Vespiquen deck, which is very fun and actually really works well in this current meta. You also have Zoroark as a backup attacker, but mainly you're just Be Revenging. Goal of this deck, get a bunch of Pokemon in the discard pile, and hit for a ton of damage with Be Revenge. I mean, just plain and simple, that's how the deck works. As for the Pokemon that we're running actually 27, which is a gigantic number, but you want to have like 16 to 20 Pokemon in the discard pile, so you're able to take one-hit knockouts on EXs and GXs, particularly late game when you're trading a single prize Vespiquen for 2 prizes EXs and GXs. The Pokemon we're pairing it with, first of all, running a line of Eeveelutions, Flareon for the Decidueye, Metagross, like all the different Fire Weak decks that are currently in the meta. Flareon just kind of makes this deck incredible against those. I mean, if you have a Flareon up, all of a sudden you don't even need that many Pokemon in the discard pile in order to one-shot things. But the Metagross matchup is actually pretty difficult for this deck without the Flareon. With the Flareon, all of a sudden you only need like 12, 13 Pokemon in the discard pile for Vespiquen to be able to one-shot a Metagross, and that is gigantic compared to needing like 23. Yeah, without a Choice Band, you need 23 Pokemon in the discard pile in order to one-shot a Metagross. So Flareon single-handedly swings those in your favor, and then to a lesser extent, Vaporeon to help with like a Volcanion-type matchup. I mean, Vaporeon, you really don't use it all that often, but against Volcanion, it can be a little bit problematic because Vespiquen is knocked out by a single Steam-Up Power Heater, so just being able to hit those guys for weakness really helps out this deck. And then running two Eevees, two different ones. One of them has a single energy with single energy retreat, and the other has quick draw. I mean, you're really just kind of a, well, which do you want? I mean, this Eevee can potentially attack and hit for 30 damage. This Eevee can potentially draw you a card. Both of them, I mean, you can't really take advantage of Energy Evolution because you don't run any fire or water energy in this deck. So it's just kind of a crapshoot of what you want. One Oranguru as just kind of a draw support that's on the bench and just stays there. Not as strong as something like Octillery, but, I mean, it's still... Being able to go up from 1 card to 3 cards, or even just 2 cards to 3 cards, is very, very solid and can get you out of some late game end situations where you need like a DCE and something like that. 2 Shaymin. Shaymin has fallen out incredibly. I believe the deck that won did not run a single copy of Shaymin at all. So Shaymin very much fallen out of format. This deck really likes having Shaymin just be able to draw extra cards, and if you don't need the extra draw support, just dump it in the discard pile. It adds damage to be your revenge. So a couple Shaymin and a couple Lele. Lele is just the best card in this, probably the best card in this format. Actually, I'm okay. In my opinion, Lele is the best card in this format, but I'll probably save that question of the day for a little bit later. But yeah, Lele, just a couple of those that are able to attack with DCE, able to search out supporters, that type of stuff. 2/2 of Zorua and Zoroark. It really doesn't matter which Zorua you run, because I mean, both of them, you really can't attack with them at all. It's just a matter of which one you choose to run. Pramawat, well, at least the list that I found for it ran both, so I was like, whatever, we'll just put them in there. I mean, neither of them do anything, so neither of them have higher HP than the other or less retreat cost, so it's just a matter of, well, which Zorua artwork do you think is cuter? We have 2 of these Zoroarks with stand-in and Mind Jack. Mind Jack is great for when your opponent fills up their bench, and you don't quite have a ton of Pokemon in your discard pile yet to where Vespiquen's able to take the one-hit knockouts. Zoroark is a great backup attacker. We have 2 Klefki with Wonderlock. Klefki can single-handedly win you matchups against like Mega Rayquaza or Mega decks that happen to be out there, although there's really no relevant Mega decks right now except for Mega Rayquaza. So Klefki just kind of buys you turns or is another Pokemon to throw in your discard pile. 4/4 of Combee and Vespiquen. We want absolute max number of those because it's the main attacker of the deck, and we want to be able to have those as frequently as possible and to have them as consistently as possible. I already talked about the Lele. 4 Unown, just because, I mean, Unown essentially makes your deck 56 cards while also having another Pokemon in the discard pile. Basically, it's just perfect for this deck because it's like, oh, if you draw into an Unown, well, that's essentially just drawing into the card that you would have drawn into after the Unown, but you have another Pokemon in your discard pile to power up to your revenge. So Unown and Vespiquen just paired from the beginning. They're probably going to be paired until the end. As for the items that we are running, for Acro Bike, just mill through the deck, put Pokemon in the discard pile, get Pokemon in our hand. Pramawat ran this instead of Trainer's Mail, and I actually agree with this deck because usually the drawback of Acro Bike is the discard part of it, but in this deck you want to have stuff in the discard pile anyway, so the detriment of Acro Bike is actually a benefit. So that's why there are 4 Acro Bike there. 1 Rescue Stretcher to kind of just grab a Pokemon from the discard pile, put it in your hand, or shuffle in a couple Combee, Vespiquen type of thing, that sort of stuff. 1 Revitalizer to get Combee, Vespiquen right back into your hand if you run out of attackers or have to discard them early. 2 Special Charge. Normally there's only 1, but 2 is absolutely necessary because in this deck, you're really not going to be getting a whole lot of one-hit knockouts. Not until late game anyway. So odds are you're going to be going through a couple DCE early without necessarily getting knockouts. So you want to have Special Charge there so that you can recycle those DCEs for late in the game. And also running 2 just means you're not as susceptible to having it prized in a crucial situation or to drawing it early with a Sycamore and just having to get rid of it. So two Special Charge come through clutch for me when I've tested this deck. 4 Ultra Ball, guaranteed get one we want when we want, and throw stuff in the discard pile. 4 VS Seeker, let us reuse all of our supporters, and then ask these supporters absolute max number of Sycamore, because, I mean, we want the discard effect. We want to throw Pokemon in our discard pile to power up V Revenge. 1 N, just because N is way too good to not have in the deck. 2 Lysandre to bring up our opponent's Pokemon, knock them out, that type of stuff. As for the stadiums, running only 2 Forested Giant Plants, because you don't necessarily need them in a Vespiquen deck, but it is nice to have late game or early game be able to be Revenge first turn, or just be able to Revitalizer into a Vespiquen immediately later in the game, that type of stuff. So we don't need to run a ton of them, but having a couple is nice. The tools, running 2 Choice Band just to boost the damage output from our attackers, 2 Float Stone put on our Eeveelutions or Oranguru, because those guys have pretty annoying retreat costs. Yeah, both of the Eeveelutions have... Well, actually, Flareon has one, but I mean, still, those guys are never, ever going to be attacking, so throwing Float Stones onto those is nice. Oranguru, yeah, you can attack with it with Psychic, I know. Pramawat didn't actually put him in a great spot, but still, otherwise, the 2 retreat cost is kind of annoying. And then 4 DCEs, I mean, we'd run more if we could, but unfortunately, we cannot. So, yeah, that's the deck. I'm done rambling. Let's go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against, well, looks like a, I mean, it looks kind of like a Lurantis Solgaleo deck, so that should be interesting to go up against. I'll be curious to see if that is what my opponent is running. I mean, the typing is indicative of that, but I do start off with, some stuff. Not sure how I feel about this hand. In fact, I actually am sure how I feel about this hand. I'm not too thrilled. I'd really like to get an Ultra Ball. If I can get like an Ultra Ball, that way I can get a, if I can get an Ultra Ball to get a couple Zorua and another Combee out, then that would be ideal. But for the time being, my opponent starts with Magearna, so, I mean, it is technically possible for me to get a turn 1 knockout on Magearna. Is it probably going to happen? No. Is it likely to happen? No. But is it possible? Yeah. So, okay, we see the Lele come out. Please end. Please end. I would be very happy if you end. I mean, yeah, I can always just, like, Sycamore away my hand, but, okay, my opponent Lily's. That gives me a little bit more reason to go for N instead of Sycamore. That way my opponent doesn't get to just hold on to the huge hand that they are probably going to have. And yeah, we see the Cosmog come down, so almost guaranteed that this is Lurantis Solgaleo, because we also saw the grass typing as well. It is my turn. Let's see what we get. We get an Eevee. That's going to be incredibly nice in this matchup. Because, I mean, once I get a Flareon down, I'll be able to one-shot Solgaleo. I'll be able to one-shot Lurantis, all that. And there we go. This is the type of hand I can work with. So let's go ahead and play down the other Combee, play down the Unknowns. I'm gonna go ahead and Farewell Letter once just to see if I can get something that I can discard. And I don't, so let's go ahead and Acro Bike, see what I can get. I get a Lele. I mean, Klefki isn't going to be doing much of anything in this matchup. Let's Ultra Ball, get rid of the Ultra Ball and the Sycamore. I mean, I'm not going to get a turn 1 knockout on my opponent's Magearna. So, I mean, at the very least, I'm just going to try to get set up as well as possible. Potentially even just get another Zorua out, which would be ideal. Okay. So, let's DCE up the active Combee. Farewell Letter, maybe get something else. We'll see. Well, I get another Float Stone, so that's something. Honestly, I'm not too afraid of my Combee getting knocked out this turn, so I'm just gonna leave it up there. I mean, I could have attached to the one on the bench. In fact, hindsight 2020, I should have, but I really don't think it's gonna matter all that much. My opponent ends me, and yeah, I'm completely okay with that end, because I really didn't have much that I would have liked to work with. So I only have 4 Pokemon in my discard pile, so even now I'm not anywhere close. But if I can get a Flareon, I can potentially get in range to knock out the Magearna. My opponent does just get rid of my Float Stone. That's fine with me. Let's go ahead and force the Giant Plants. Is there a Vespiquen in? Yeah, it's just a Vespiquen. So let's Rescue Stretcher, actually. grab an Unown. Because, I mean, I'm going to want to try to get rid of this hand regardless. I mean, I'm going to. But yeah, now let's Revitalizer grab the Vespiquen. That way I can... Well, I mean, I wanted to Rescue Stretcher for the Unown, and then Revitalizer for the Vespiquen. Let's grab the Sycamore, because, I mean, throwing a Combee and a Zoroark in the discard pile is not bad. And if I can get a Choice Band and a Flareon, I will be able to take the knockout. Well, I get a ton of Pokemon. This hand would be phenomenal if I had a Sycamore as my draw support for the turn. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is Farewell Letter, see if I can get that Flareon and Choice Band off of these. I do not. Slightly unfortunate right there, so what I am just going to do is play the Klefki, go ahead and Wonderlock onto the Unown, because I'm going to be discarding the Unown this turn anyway. I mean, yeah, Klefki is going to be doing nothing. And, okay, Choice Band or Flareon. Choice Band or Flareon, neither. But what I can do is grab a Lele. Which, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'll be doing 90 damage. It'll be a 2-hit KO. That's not the end of the world. And then I'm just going to go ahead and play this Combee down so I can have another Vespiquen just in case. Because, I mean, I'll be two-shotting stuff. As soon as I get the Flareon down, I'm going to be able to one-shot a lot of things with just, like... With only a few Pokemon in the discard pile, so I think right now it's more important to have plenty of attackers rather than try to go for just bigger numbers, because the numbers I'm at right now are fine with me. My opponent will end. It's fine, gives me a fresh hand. I already have a decent amount of Pokemon in the discard pile anyway. That Magearna is going to get knocked out this next turn unless my opponent manually retreats it. This actually works. So I can... Ooh. This hand is actually very nice. I'd like to save my Special Charge for when I get knocked out. For when I lose a DCE. But, I mean, I have two of them. I think I should be fine overall. We do see the Solgaleo come out. So, is my opponent going to be able to... Yeah, my opponent's obviously going to be able to Ultra Road, get the Magearna out of the active spot. Plays Drampa as well. That's interesting. So he is just going to Ultra Road into... Oh, okay. So at least I can use my Special Charge now. Righteous Edge, put 20 damage onto my Vespiquen, get rid of my DCE, and I get a Float Stone. So let's see what I can get off of this Acro Bike. Ooh, I get a Lele. So this is pretty nice. Because what I can do... 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8... 9, 10, 11. Not quite. So I won't quite be able to get a knockout this turn. But what I can do, get another Vespiquen down. And I mean, I could, yeah, I mean, I'm obviously going to retreat into my Vespiquen on the bench. You know what? I'm just going to put this Drampa in range of getting knocked out next turn. Or of being knocked out by another Be Revenge. This way I can Special Charge for 2 energy, and my opponent top decks a Skyla. For a... You gotta be kidding me right now. So, top decks... I mean, at least my opponent didn't top deck a Sycamore, because that would make me kind of sad. He's just going to completely heal up the Drampa, which... I mean... Alright. Oh, but he is going to Ultra Road into his Solgaleo, so good play by my opponent. Going to be able to get a bunch of energy back into play. Well, not back into play, just get a bunch of energy into play. Probably going to try to power up the Drampa completely and the Solgaleo. So this turn, yeah, only I don't have nearly enough. Actually, 8, 9, 10. If I can draw into my Flareon, no, I need one more. If I draw into Flareon, I'll be able to hit for 240. If I'm somehow able to discard an 11th Pokemon, then I'll be able to take a one-shot onto the Solgaleo. So I'm in a very good spot right now. My opponent's obviously not getting much of anything, and let's go ahead and Lele, just grab probably just a Sycamore. Oh wait, I only have a Lysandre. That's unfortunate. Well, I mean, I'm gonna grab my Lysandre, I guess. Well, that's annoying. Let's see. I guess I just discarded too much early on. So let's bring up the Magearna, take a couple prizes, and yeah. Still hanging on to the Special Charge, just because that's going to be I mean, that's going to be key for getting back a DC. And there we go. There's a Sycamore and an Unown. So, yeah, we're in a good position now. My opponent will be able to get a knockout with a Lele, but at that point I will be able to... No way. You've got to be kidding me. Oh my gosh. That's annoying. My opponent top decks a VS Seeker for an N right when I had a very good hand. That's so annoying. That's very, very annoying. Well, 8. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah. Now maybe the Shaymin can get me something. But man, that's annoying. That is so annoying. I mean, just top decks it perfectly. Oh man. Well, alright. So, on the bright side, well, there's a DCE. Let's grab that, play the Choice Band down there, play the Shaymin, hopefully get some cards that I can work with. VS Seeker and a Flareon, so there we go. Let's go ahead and evolve into Flareon, VS Seeker. I'm Lysandering. What do I want to do? There's 10. Well, with the Choice Band, I'll be easily able to get a knockout on the Solgaleo. And then, yeah, Drampa will be able to knock me out in return. But you know what? Flareon, I mean, I'm taking that knockout on the Solgaleo. Even if my opponent Lysanders up the Flareon and knocks it out, I'll still be able to pretty easily take knockouts on the Lele or the Drampa at this point, and especially with that Ultra Ball. That Ultra Ball is going to come through very clutch in getting Pokemon in the discard pile. Drampa, yeah, he'll be able to knock me out with Berserk just fine. And he, well, guess he's powering up a Lurantis in the back, but as soon as he puts up a Lurantis, I mean, my Vespiquen is easily going to be able to knock that out. And my opponent is going to N again. I mean, yeah, he probably already had the VS Seeker in his hand, but at least he didn't top deck it. I would be a little salty if he top decked, well, 3 times in a game as opposed to the 2 that he already had. And I get a DCE. 4V... 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not quite enough. 11, 12. So that's not nearly enough. Not enough yet. So I'm going to just put up my... Okay, I get a Zorua. So what I think I'm going to do this turn... And this is my last DCE as well. I know there's another Special Charge, but this is my last DCE for the time being as well. So I'm going to play the Zorua, and then I think this turn I'm just going to Sky Return. So let's send up Shaymin, Sky Return the Drampa, get back my DCE, and put the Drampa in range of being knocked out with B Revenge next turn. I'll give my opponent the Flareon. Because if he takes the Flareon, then there's more than enough Pokemon for Vespiquen to knock out almost anything. Okay, if he goes Lurantis, Lurantis can't knock out my Flareon, and then I'll be able to knock him out. If he goes, if he attacks with Drampa or Lele, then I'll have more than enough Pokemon in the discard pile for my Vespiquen to be able to take a knockout on the Drampa or the Lele at this point too. My opponent is going to Lysander. Lysander's up the Vespiquen. Okay. That should be okay. Maybe. Actually, this might be bad. Because, I mean, I know I have Zoroark. I know I have Zoroark left in the deck. So I'm just going to put up the Flareon because, I mean, it has the Float Stone. All my Combee are gone. And there's my VS Seeker. So, let's Shaymin and then see what we get to see if we can get something that'll allow us to do. Oh, okay, we're good. So I win. I'm able to get the Zoroark, I'm able to get the Choice Band and the DCE. I mean, I could have always, like, if I needed to, like, if I just was missing, like, the Choice Band or something. Actually, I didn't even need the Choice Band. But, I mean, if I was just missing the Zoroark or something, then I could have just Sycamored away for the rest of my deck, and then I would have gotten the Ultra Ball to get the Zoroark or something like that. I would have been able to do that because of the VS Seeker off that Shaymin. So, yeah, that was actually a relatively tough game. Wasn't expecting that, but those high HP Pokemon are very difficult to take out, especially with Vespiquen needing a lot of Pokemon in the discard pile for it. So that was a pretty that's a pretty solid match. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I had to make some I had to really think out my resource management in order to be able to win the game. So, yeah, that was a very solid first match. Flareon putting in some work already. Let's go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we found another one against Lobe Page, maybe? I don't even know how to say that. But not sure what my opponent is running. We do get to go first, which this deck definitely likes. I mean, I always, 90% of the time, I prefer to go first. And I start with a Klefki. Well, that's not an ideal starter. What I can do... Let's see. I get a Vespiquen, so what I'm going to do is just Ultra Ball, get rid of the Sycamore and the Lysandre to grab a Lele for an N, make sure that is... Okay, good, because I just discarded some supporters and I don't want to lose it. Let's see, okay, so I have 4-3. Well, I have all 4 of my Combee and Vespiquen in my deck. That is good to know. Let's go ahead and Lele grab that N so that I don't... I mean, I really don't want to get rid of my special charges. Like, if this was any other... Like, if Special Charge was any other card, I probably would just Sycamore. But Special Charges are just so important in this deck. Because, I mean, they're really your lifelines. So I'm going to Acro Bike right here. I get a Shaymin. I'm getting rid of a VS Seeker, which I really don't like to do. But, okay. So, let's Ultra Ball. I'm only getting rid of a DCE because I know I have Special Charge in there, and I want to get a Combee started. Like, I want to get that Combee out. Alright, so let's play that there. Float Stone up. The Klefki. Play the DCE onto the Combee, and then Shaymin for a fresh hand of 6 cards. See if we can get something good, and... You know what? This isn't bad. Actually, it's not great. But let's play the Combee right there. I'm retreating my Klefki right now, just because I'm fearing Field Blower. I don't think my opponent necessarily has the energy necessary in order to knock out my Combee. And, okay, once again, hindsight 2020 really should have sent up the Combee that's on the bench. Yeah, there's the Field Blower. So I'm very glad that I went ahead and retreated my Klefki. But, yeah, hindsight 2020 should have put the Combee that's on the bench active, because, I mean, now if my opponent knocks out this active Combee with, like, a Lele, well, there's the Float Stone, and if we see a Lele DCE, he's going to be able to knock out my Combee. So, yeah, I probably should have been a little more careful on that. But not sure what else my opponent is... Oh, we see a Wobbuffet. That's not going to be... I don't know, based on my opponent's makeup, I wouldn't think that it would be too incredibly consequential. My opponent is getting an Eevee, and there's the Lele. So if my opponent has a DCE, he's going to be able to knock one of my DCEs off the board, which would be very bad early on. So I'm 100% regretting my decision to... I'm 100% regretting my decision to put my Combee with the DCE in the actor spot. 'Cause, I mean, it's not like I wouldn't even have had an attacker. I had a DCE in my hand for next turn that I could have played. But, yeah, just a little bit of a misplay on my part, just not having the foresight. Another thing my opponent could also have is a Darkness plus a Reverse Valley. Because if he had... Well, I mean, he has the Darkness, which he plays onto the Zorua. That one I don't fully get. That one I'm not sure about. Because, I mean, he Moonless Madnesses, but, I mean, if I get a Vespiquen, then I'll be able to knock out the Zorua, and then I'm just going to throw the Combee in the discard pile, see if I can get a Vespiquen. I get a Zorua and Zoroark. Please, Vespiquen, something. There we go. Okay, so, alright, now I'm going to be able to get a Vespiquen. I'll even be able to get a Zorua out. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, sorry. So I need one more in the discard pile. Let's Ultra Ball, get rid of the Float Stone and a... No. What do I want to do? Get rid of a Zorua and the Float Stone, just to get that in... Oh, wait, I have another Zoroark in the deck. Oh, wait, no, I needed to grab the Vespiquen anyway. Okay, so, yeah, for a second I was like, wait, I could have just gotten rid of the Zoroark, Ultra Ball for a Zoroark. No, I needed to Ultra Ball for a Vespiquen so that I could take a knockout this turn, and now I have a Zoroark for next turn, and a Sycamore, and a DCE, so I'm able to take a knockout this turn, get an energy of my opponents off the board, and, yeah, in a very nice spot. My opponent is going to bring up the Tapu Lele, which actually will not be able to get a one-hit knockout on me. Because, I mean, obviously he doesn't have... Unless he somehow gets 3 energy on the Lele in one turn, which would be honestly just straight up unfortunate for me. My opponent is just going to go ahead and grab a Sycamore. Right now, I'm in a great spot because I have a Vespiquen that's not in any danger of getting knocked out. I have a Combee with a DCE. I have a Zoroark that's about to get set up. I have a DCE in my hand. I'm about to get yet another Pokemon in the discard pile in my Klefki. And I'm even going to get another one with Flareon. So this is looking great. I'm going to go ahead and play the Klefki down just because, honestly. Like, I mean, I could have discarded it, but... Alright, time to play the Klefki. Let's go ahead and put this onto... Yeah, let's put it onto the active. Why the heck not? Grab an unknown. Let's Acro Bike, see what we can get. Ooh, Shaymin or Oranguru. Let's grab Oranguru because, I mean, that thing's going to be consistently good later. Let's Farewell Letter once. See if we can get a Choice Band or something. I get a VS Seeker. That's fine, honestly. Let's Farewell Letter twice. Please Choice Band, maybe? Nope, but I just get another Vespiquen, so what I think I'm going to do... 2, 3, that's 5, 6, 7, 8. Well... You know what? This Vespiquen is going to get knocked out anyway. So let's go ahead and set up another one just because, I mean, I need as many attackers as possible. Then let's be Revenge. I mean, it won't be a one-hit knockout, but it wouldn't have been anyway. And this way, I mean, yeah, my opponent will knock out my Vespiquen. And this will be my last VS Seeker as well. But I do know that I have Special Charge. And I should have Rescue Stretcher somewhere as well. Anyway, I have plenty of methods of recursion. See an energy come on to the Umbreon. That's not a huge deal. I mean, it's actually Dark Call could be annoying, but I mean, again, I have my special charges to work with. Knocks me out. That's okay. Just gonna send up a Vespiquen because this thing has free retreat, and then I am just gonna be able to Sycamore away my hand. Do I want to play the Oranguru? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Not quite a knockout on the Umbreon just yet. So, no use in Lysandering. I think I'm just going to throw more Pokemon in the discard pile, get that much closer to being able to one-shot this Umbreon. And okay, so there's all my Choice Bands, all my Revitalizers, all that stuff. So, wow. Yeah, not enough just yet. So let's play the Choice Band there. Acro Bike. This will get rid of the last 2 cards of my deck, but I knew that there was another Special Charge in there, and I am decked out at this point. But I mean, I have the Special Charges, so this is even better for me because I literally know that I'm going to be drawing into Special Charges when not Special Charges. I'm literally just going to be drawing into DCEs whenever I need them. So let's go ahead and Mind Jack, knock out the Lele. This way my opponent's Umbreon cannot knock me out. Like, he can't take a easy Night Spear, or not Night Spear, Shadow Bullet knockout on one of my attackers. Zoroark just has 2, or not 2, just has 10 extra HP. Get an Ultra Ball, but I mean, my deck is literally 2 DCEs. I'll be able to thin even more with Ultra Ball this turn. So I'm not going to deck out at this point. Well, I mean, like, yeah, 2 turns, I guess, technically. But what I could always do is just retreat my Zoroark, like manually retreat my Zoroark, throw a DCE into the discard pile, and then special charge it back into the deck to give myself one other turn. So I have plenty of options right now. And even if my opponent ends me, well, that's just more cards back into my deck. He is going to Lysander. What's he Lysandering up? Not sure what my opponent is going to Lysander up. Either way, like, odds are he's going to Dark Call this turn. And then, like, I'm just going to immediately draw into a DCE. Because, I mean, my deck is literally 2 DCEs at this point. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's my DCE. I'll be able to special charge. I'm going to go ahead and do that just because I get maximum use out of the special charge anyway. So now my deck is 3 DCEs. Let's go ahead and DCE up the Shaymin. Ultra Ball, get rid of the Vaporeon and the Eevee. I just did that to thin my deck a little bit. And then let's go ahead and Choice Band up the Shaymin, actually. because this will allow me to Sky Return for a whopping 60 damage, which that might not seem a lot, but that's actually going to be very consequential coming up. And I'll send up a Vespiquen. So meaning, hey, if my opponent Lysandre's up the other Vespiquen and knocks it out because it has a Choice Band on it, I have a Choice Band in my hand. If he knocks out this one, well, I mean, I have the Choice Banded Vespiquen on the deck, and I have all 4 of my DCEs like available to me. I have 1 in my hand. My deck of 3 cards is 3 DCEs. I have all of my resources available to me. An N will put me at 3, but it's not a big deal. I even have Shaymin, so that if my opponent ends me and I don't have my DCEs, I can draw into them. So I mean, I just have so many different plays that I can make at this point that, I mean, while my deck is 3 cards, like I'm in the driver's seat. I am controlling everything because I have my attacker set up. I have like my discard pile set up. My deck is literally as thinned as it could possibly be for this deck to function the way it is. And oh, I drew a DCE, what a surprise. What I am going to do right here, I know I have enough Pokemon in the discard pile combined with Choice Band to be able to get a knockout on my opponent's Umbreon. So I am just going to go ahead and evolve up another Vespiquen on the bench. And yeah, you know what? Let's just go ahead and be revenge. Take a knockout on this Umbreon. Be down to 1 prize. And just be in a spot to win the game. So I get a Sycamore and an Unown. Literally, I cannot lose next turn. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think there's a way I can lose. Because if my opponent ends me, literally anything that I draw is going to allow me to win the game. Because, I mean, if I draw the Unown, I'd be able to Farewell Letter. That'd get me either a DCE, a Lele, a Shaymin, or a Sycamore. I mean, if I drew, like, literally anything that I drew if my opponent ended me would win me the game. So I am just going to attach to the Zoroark, manually retreat into Vespiquen, take the knockout on the Oranguru, and win the game. So, yeah, I mean, that was a... I felt that I got a little bit overzealous, but I mean, that was probably the best, like, thinning... Well, that's probably the best, like, in terms of setup that I've ever been able to do with that deck. 'Cause, I mean, my deck got thinned exactly how I wanted. I got myself to the point in that game where even if my opponent ended me, I literally could not lose because of the cards that were still left in my deck. Like, I thinned my deck perfectly to even 1 card won me the game. Any card that I drew at that point won me the game. So, yeah, that was the deck, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Shoutouts to Pramawat for winning with this deck. And this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.